Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Protoss, where we find ourselves on 2,000 atmospheres. Spawning right here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probes from South Korea, we have Prince. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, likewise also from South Korea, we are looking at ByuL's main hatchery. Not to be confused with ByuL. ByuL versus ByuL has happened in the past as well, which makes for a very confusing cast, especially when you're, trying to explain what's going on in the games. That actually reminds me, once upon a time in the European scene, in the early days of StarCraft 2, there was a Terran player called Nama. And obviously we also have a Protoss player called Mana, who's still around these days as well. And every once in a while we would have Nama versus Mana, which is just awfully confusing, and you start tripping over your words like 2 minutes in. Anyways, these are two players that I don't really feature on the channel all too often, but they're actually really good. So, ByuL, as of me making this video, considered to be the rank 22 over in South Korea, which is very impressive. And Prince is currently considered to be the rank 23. So definitely players we want to have a look at. We're also currently at that time in the year where the World Championships are coming up very soon, and because of that, a lot of the top tier players don't really want to show a whole lot of their games. So most of the best pro players, I mean, many of them already don't really participate in online tournaments as it is, but right now even fewer than what we normally see, other than maybe Zest. Zest doesn't really seem to care, but I can only cast so many Zest games every single week, although if you enjoy those, definitely do make sure to subscribe. I'll try and cast some more of his games going forward as well. Anyways, ByuL, an old school Zerg player. He made some waves back in, I think this was like 2013, 2014-ish. I know he made it to the GSL finals. I know he did well in the SSL as well, but he never really won like a premier tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely a player, though, you want to keep in mind. I mean, he basically, I think he quit the game for several years. He did his mandatory military service in Korea, and now he's back once again for already some time, so... yeah, I think it's good to get an update on his current skill level and see where he's currently at. Prince, another player I don't really feature all too often. Definitely another very strong Protoss. So, I was actually just looking at his Liquipedia page, and it prominently states on his Liquipedia page that he has a brother called Sandcastle, which I think is just an amazing nickname. I'd never heard of him before either. Apparently he's a Protoss player who's in the same team as Prince, but apparently, yeah, he's got a sibling called Sandcastle, and his own nickname is Prince. I mean, Prince and Sandcastle, it's a bit of an opposite, I suppose, right? Prince is a great nickname, though. Yeah, I don't think Prince is a... There should be a singer called Prince. Anyways, today we're gonna have a look at what these two have been up to recently. This is a very long game from a recent Olimo League. I think it was played like 3 days ago, 4 days ago, if you're watching this on the day that it goes up. So it should give us a very accurate representation. Basically what I did is I put all of the replays from the Olimo League tournament in a folder. And then I just sorted it to the largest replay in the pack. And this is the one. So we're going to find out exactly what's going down. Now, it is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss. So, I mean, I've complained about this plenty in the past. I don't think I really want to get into it once again. But I do think the early game of ZVP is a little bit boring. Especially if we have that Stargate opener, which we will have pretty much all of the time. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Until, like, rumor has it, word on the street has it, that after... Word on the internet streets, that is, obviously, right? Anyways, rumor has it that apparently there is gonna be a balance update from Blizzard. I don't know if that is just copium from the StarCraft fans or if that's actually happening. But apparently after the World Championships, we should be expecting new maps and maybe a balance patch as well, so... I don't know, man. We'll find out together. I'll keep you guys updated, of course, as soon as I hear anything. That being said, early game ZVP at this point in the current meta of StarCraft 2 is extremely well figured out. Players know what the optimal way of playing is, and it's pretty much always the same. There is definitely some variety, but judging by the fact that this is a longer game, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gonna fire up the +1 flyer attacks very soon as well. Maybe put down a second Stargate and just continue pumping out those Void Rays. We do have some Spore Crawlers coming up on the other side of the map as well. ByuL, of course, knows what the best way to face off against this is as well. So he's seen that his opponent has opened up with a Void Ray. He's looking right now for the +1 flyer research. Doesn't see it. Maybe this is going to be a transition, but we're already on 4 Void Rays. I feel like even with just 4 Void Rays, the +1 might already be worth it. Anyways, he's seen the third Nexus right now, and basically that means that ByuL, if he wants to go for some aggression, he has to commit to it right about right now. So one option that Zerg has in these sorts of circumstances is just to make a bunch of queens, skip the lair, go for a push with roaches, queens, ravagers, and zerglings, and just send everything towards the other side of the map. The queens being your main avenue of anti-air. It is, of course, a little bit risky because queens are very slow off creep, but it is a way to, yeah, end the game early, and it works most of the time, especially below the professional level. So Prince has decided to warp in. This is kind of curious, though. This is why I like casting a variety of pro players, because this is not something we normally see. I guess he's faking a Glaive Adept follow-up? Because this is a lot of Adepts. Now, I like this. ByuL going for what I like to call the Serral move. We see Serral making this decision all the time, where he creates like a full wall off against Adepts. Void Ray's trying to go in from the site. I guess he may have just locked the Adepts out of his Natural Expo, but I'm a little concerned he's also locked his own queens out of the main base. Yeah, 2 queens are going to try and scramble their way into the main. There was a council in the Evo chamber over there. There should be enough spores. Still some damage being done, though. Yeah, so he should have picked up on the fact that these Adepts are not fighting, or they're not attacking nearly as quickly as they would with the Glaive's upgrade. So, even though Prince did decide to warp in, like, what, 8 or so Adepts there in total? He did kill 11 Adepts, or 11 drones, rather, without the Adept upgrade, which is kind of funky. And look back at this, we now have Prince transitioning straight towards the carrier. So, Fleet Beacon has been planted down, second Stargate has come up, and then there also is now a third one. Okay. So I would be a little bit confused here if I was ByuL, because we pretty much never see Adept-based pushes without the Glaive's upgrade, right? And if you're going to go into the Glaive's upgrade after opening up with Void Rays, it means you're pretty much always going to transition towards like Charge or maybe Blink, and therefore a ground-based army. I don't know if ByuL is going to be caught off guard by that. I mean, it doesn't really matter all too much. He's going to go for the Spire. Can always make Mutas as well against this sort of opener, but I think if he decides to make Mutas here, he probably assumes that it's a ground transition as well. I don't know if he's already seen a carrier. He has been sending units around. I mean, these roaches are not going to achieve anything. Alright, there's the +1 flyer. There's the Speedy Boy upgrade as well for those Void Rays. Nemtes Carapace is going to soon finish up too. That's going to allow the Zerg player to fly around those Overlords and the Overseers a little bit quicker. Suddenly, this guy with his many eyes. There you go. Got some nice little speed burst. Now we have the Robo Bay. Curious start right there from Prince. I'm just wondering what would have happened if this would have been a Queen push. Right? Because, like, I think against the Queen March, I mean, obviously it would be rock, paper, scissors for ByuL because he doesn't know it, but he would be in a very strange situation. Because I don't think Prince really would have anything to hold against that sort of attack, which is probably something we see about 50% of the time in most of the Zerg versus Protosses, especially below the pro level, though. At the pro level, it's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. This is actually dealing a lot of damage, though. Brenda's corpse right there flying in front of the camera. Sorry about that. Roaches and Zerglings in the meantime on the left side of the map, dealing as much damage as they can, trying to shut down the 4th base, but more importantly, trying to force these Stargate units to come back. Corruptors, though, are out. I think I saw 6 about to finish. Or 6 just finishing up with 6 more just about to be finished. No recall to watch this 4th base, so Prince is giving up on it. So, you know what? That little skirmish right there, it seemed like it was terrible for the Zerg initially, but I really like the fact that he kept his head cool and decided to send in the Lynx and the Roaches for a counterattack, because I think it put him in a decent enough spot. Yeah, 8 Queens have gone down, which obviously is more than you would like to lose, but 5 Void Rays on the back of it as well. Plus that Nexus. I think the Nexus really is the big deciding factor here, right? So Protoss is very limited in a lot of these circumstances with gas. So you need to have a lot of gas if you want to run any of these armies, right? These late game forces, very expensive. So Prince, by the way, basically skipping early game, skipping mid game, going straight towards the late game. He's following up his Stargate units right now with Disruptors as well, which is awesome. They're very good against Queens, Hydras, Lurkers, the whole shebang. So, ByuL, I mean, he's already gone for the Corruptors instead, right? He's just starting up a couple of Sport Crawlers in the middle of the map. Bumping out the hatcheries. Already up to 91 workers. He was oversaturating this base pretty heavily earlier. Could even go for the base at the 12 o'clock too. So he's just setting himself up for a late game right now. So there's Infestors. Corruptors. Patent the Glance is just going to finish up. That's the energy boost For the infestors when they first pop out of those cocoons. Hive is just about to be... Well, actually, there it is. It's already done. This is going to be a bit of a dicey moment, though, for Prince. If he decides to hang out here in the middle of the map on creep, he's going to end up getting surrounded very easily. Yeah, you cannot really afford to lose carriers like that. Okay, nice snipe as well on the Disruptor. Good movement here by ByuL, man. ByuL's looking really solid here. Yeah. 5th Nexus, though. 10 gas. That's what Protoss dreams are made of. It means you can build whatever you like. You can go for the Mama ship. You can add on some High Templar to your carriers as well. You can go double Cybernetics core and get those upgrades really pumping quickly. Especially the attack upgrades, of course. The carriers, they benefit from that in particular. Viper's now coming up as well for ByuL. So ByuL is going to play the I have got 3 hands build order. It's one of those strategies that I, for the life of me, cannot pull off. For some reason, though, the pro gamers oftentimes can make it look quite easy, but essentially what he's doing is he's microing so many different spellcasters while also manually targeting with corruptors. I don't know how to do it, right? Like, you want to land ByuLs, so the Ravagers need a separate hotkey. You want to target fire with corruptors, because otherwise they're going to kill interceptors, which kind of sucks. You want to try a neural parasite, maybe even microbial stride, and, you know, obviously, what's it called? Fungal growth as well with the infestors that you want to transfuse with the queens. And then you also want to abduct with the vipers and parasitic bomb. I mean, that's like 5 hotkeys for that army alone. And then the spore crawlers and the roaches and the zerglings, and like sometimes we see ultralists counterattacks with that as well. I mean, I don't know how these guys do it. They just hotkey it, by the way. That's what they do. And they just like don't accidentally fat finger the hotkeys and use the correct buttons for the correct situation. It's just really easy to accidentally mess up. Apparently ByuL, though, feeling confident that he can do so. That Zealot. Somehow, some way, made it all the way until the top section of the map. It's even gonna go down while killing several Zerglings. I don't think it's gonna go home, but he laughs in the face of danger. Now, the real fight is happening over here, though. Not that many corruptors. Yeah, we only have 4 corruptors. Soon to be 3. Roach is over here trying to be as annoying as possible. Charge is going to finish up here very soon, though, and that's going to make defending against those little Roach run by significantly easier. Fungal growth right over there. Okay, parasitic bomb. Blinding clouds. I mean, we can do everything. Microbial shroud right here on top of the queens, too. It's just that we have a lot of spellcasters here at Zerg. Nice splits here as well by Prince, trying to negate as much of that splash damage as possible. But is there enough for him to push forward? I guess he's killed enough of the interceptors here that Protoss is a little afraid of pushing through. I feel like there was potential, though, to push through that. You just never know, right, as Protoss, on whether or not there's going to be like 10 corruptors popping out of the cocoons here. So backing off here, probably the safer choice. That was impressive, though. From the Zerg, that is. I kind of felt like he was going to just run out of stuff. He had a lot of spellcasters, but not actual units that could, like, deal a lot of damage. But apparently, just barely enough to hold on. Good micro. Anyways, now we've got interceptors. We've got shields again. This is the moment where Prince decides to go in for round 2. Brute Lords are out right now in pretty large numbers. Parasitic Bomb, once again, you need to split against that. Split against it, please. No splits? I mean, I guess the Void Razor split, but everything else just completely caught off guard here. He's also engaging on top of all of the Spore Crawlers. Recall will be... Oh my god, that was a nasty battle right there, Prince. He was probably thinking he could push for the win right there, but that really wasn't it. In the meantime, inside of the main base of the Zerg, there were about 10 or so Zealots warped in. Drones apparently are trying to negate as much of this damage as possible. Some leftover Roaches and Ravagers will try and see if they can save the Hive, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Zealots are going to be able to kill that pretty smoothly. New lair was already started up in the Natural Expo, and ByuL is going to have to tech up all the way again from scratch. Alright. Now the Mama ship is out. High Templar have joined the fray. I like them a lot better here than Disruptors. Of course. Besides the Psionic Storm, which they still need to research. We really need to start that up, Mr. Prince. Can we... Yeah, there it is. Okay. Can we start up the Templar Archives research? Besides the fact that they have Psionic Storm, obviously, they also have a skill called Feedback. Now, feedback theoretically outranges Vipers as well as Infestors. So you should be able to, you know, not get anything fungled or get anything, you know, abducted or anything like that. Assuming you actually have the High Templar in the right place at the right time. If they aren't leading the army, then of course the Protoss units can be picked off pretty easily. This usually, by the way, is the Zerg's base. I guess we saw the same thing for the Zerg, though, taking what is usually considered to be the Protoss' base on this map. But the Void Rays are going to be able to push back these roaches relatively easily. Alright. So, Stargate number 4 and 5 currently on the production tab. Prince putting those out in front. I don't think that this is the ideal location for these, but... apparently he's mostly concerned about remixing, though, because he's already at 186 supply right here. And now all of a sudden, we do have that Protoss Death Ball. So this is a scary army. If well controlled, this can do a lot of damage. One thing to point out, I suppose, though, is that a lot of these Void Rays here are low in health. So, you know, it's nice to keep them alive and all that, but they're not going to be able to get any of their hull HP back. Meaning that they will be killed much quicker in an actual battle. Anyways, I'm assuming we have +3 for the Flyers. We do. Neuroparasite is also done here for Zerg, so they could take control of it. Oh, wow. Hatchery on the right side of the map. Killed by a bunch of random zealots. Spinecrawler's a little bit late to the party. ByuL repositioning his army to try and get into a better spot. My god, can we get an observer in the mix, please? We're just, like, we have 2 observers. Okay. There finally is one coming up. This is giving the Zerg player full vision of exactly where that army is located. And so far, ByuL has been pushed back very nicely, though. Prince has been, yeah, out-expending his opponent even. Now taking the one in the top left-hand corner as well. ByuL at this point is grabbing whatever he can, putting down all of the track structures that he likes. Prince at this point, though, looking very, very strong. Yeah, he's got money for days, so he can add on a ton of static defense by acquiring these bases too. And he's threatening to engage here. I don't know if he actually is going to this time around. Okay, I think he is. Nice feedbacks. Nice storms. Fungal growth as well, though, by the Zerg player, so he's got to be careful. Okay, it looks like most of the High Templar will be able to get him out of there. Abduction on the one Void Ray. Very ambitious siege up right there in range of, well, several forms of detection. But the thing is, he was just moving around right there, trying to get some damage done. Threatening that he was ready to engage, but that gave him enough time to finish up the static defense in the top left-hand corner, and therefore a new expansion. Follow-up right now from Prince, though, is going to be Tempest. So now we're getting into a very complex late-game army here for Prince. If he's adding on Tempest, I would love to see the addition here as well of a couple of Oracles. Then all of a sudden we're talking like 5 hotkeys as well for the Protoss. Most of this can be controlled with like 3, maybe 2. Depends on where you want to put your Mama ship. The Mama ship is cool though, right? Such a cool looking unit. Anyways, Tempest here are going to be nice when it comes to picking off those units from a distance. So Tempest can shoot away much further than they can see, especially air to air. So they're going to be great against the Brute Lords, Corruptors, Vipers, whatever is flying, I guess, for the Zerg player. I also really like this from Prince, actually. Taking the base over here, although the Corruptors can maybe still puke all over that base with the caustic spray. Anyways, he's taking a bunch of static defense in the middle of the map. Tempest right now have been spotted as well. I think we need some creep over here to try and push forward. Okay. Static defense in the middle of the map is one of those moves that we don't really see all too often, but it's very strong when it's done well. Zealot run-by is probably going to be near impossible on the right side of the map. Yeah, ByuL doesn't want to engage without his Spore Crawler, so he's just kind of letting this happen. I do think he should be able to harass... Oh, well, we're killing some of our own probes here. Yeah, he's making an Oracle. All right. I think he should be able to harass this base pretty easily, though. Like, Brute Lords from right around over there can shoot at probes that would potentially be mining that base. So I don't think he's all too concerned about it. But obviously, right, if we're looking at the amount of bases taken right now, Protoss has been heavily out-expending Zerg, and it's reflected right here in the resource count as well. So 10,000 plus resources here for Prince versus about 4 for ByuL, 4,000. This is making me a little bit concerned for the Zerg. Feedback. Revelation right there. Giving temporary vision. So this is especially great for those Tempest. Tempest can start shooting away at those structures pretty easily. I mean, you should probably just use the Tempest, to be honest. A little bit of sloppy control here. Yeah. Losing a Void right there, quite unfortunate. I'm a little bit concerned. And I guess if that's the case, this video is never going to make it to the YouTube channel. But I'm a little bit concerned that we're just going to see Prince attack move. And everything will die. ByuL is clearly setting up for something. ByuL is apparently feeling very comfortable. I mean, judging by the way that he's playing, he's not really too concerned at the very least about the fact that Protoss has more stuff. Either that or he thinks he can't do anything against it. There's quite a few games that I cast that don't actually make it to the channel, just because they're not necessarily too exciting. ByuL did take the base over here, but I think we need to keep an eye out on this army right over here. ByuL is waiting for his opponent to overextend, but Prince so far is maneuvering his army around quite well. Only 55 drones, by the way, for our Zerg player as well, adding on even more static defense. Pushing some of it forward as well, which is nice. Probes apparently will now be sacrificed. Prince is like, you know what? I want 72. Go die! Or, I don't know. Math? No math in videos, not even once. I think now is the time, though, to start clearing out some of these structures over here in the top left-hand corner with the Brute Lords. Obviously, it is a little bit dangerous, but the Brute Lords are only really here to kill the High Templar in a main battle, so maybe getting them to work on some of the structures here in the top left would not be a terrible idea. Dark Templar have been added into the mix as well. Okay, the Protoss army, slow as it is, has recharged and it's ready to go over here in the bottom right-hand corner. A lot of static defense over here. Corruptor's a little bit quicker than his army. Brute Lords, in the meantime, though, are working on that base in the top left-hand corner. Interceptors. Okay, will be killed. Chitinous Plating researching as well for ByuL. I'm a little bit concerned. ByuL is like, I'm trying to figure out what is ByuL's win condition here, right? Like, how do you win? What do you do? He's got a bank, sure. He can make an army, sure. He can make a second one as well after this one dies, sure. But what then? Okay, fungal growth right there. Huge bubbles as well, though. Those bubbles, they reduce movement speed as well as attack speed by 50%. Microbial Shroud right here, keeping these queens alive for a very long time. It's an infestor ability that I originally dubbed as trash, and I still think it's probably the worst ability in the game. But, you know what? It can actually deal some damage. I mean, to interceptors especially, I guess. Because the queens just refuse to die with transfuses and microbial shrouds. Brute Lords lift completely by their own right now. Corruptors desperately flying on over in this direction once again. Prince has had full map control here for a while. No Vipers here in this mix anymore, so it means that there's no abductions either. Zerg long distance mining the base on the right side of the map. I'm becoming very concerned. For our Zerg, that is. Prince has been absolutely dominating the battlefield here. Normally in these situations, Zerg has at least the same amount of bases as Protoss. But ByuL has been up with his back against the wall for a long time here. There's 4 Vipers here. Okay, I guess they were gathering energy in the net. Ultralisk over here, desperately trying to deal as much damage as it can, but Ultra's not the greatest unit in the game. Okay, fungal growth over here, parasitic bomb as well, abductions on the Mama ship, microbial shroud once again on the ground. No splits here by the Protoss player until, like, all of the damage was already done, and here we go! Okay, he decides to fly in. You know what they call this move with the Corruptors? The pro gamers, I kid you not, call this the Loko maneuver. Not that I actually came up with it. Basically what you do is you parasitic bomb the carriers, and then as the carriers send out their interceptors on the Corruptors, you fly the Corruptors into the carriers, and therefore the parasitic bomb that's chasing those Corruptors is gonna kill all of the interceptors. I don't know why it's called the Loko maneuver either. I think it was Harstom or something who started calling it that first. I wasn't the one that came up with it. He saw me doing it in a game at some point, and apparently he'd never seen it before. I think that's the story. Anyways, all of the top tier Protoss players, or all of the top tier pro players on the European servers, they do refer to that as the Loco maneuver. Like Serral and you know, Rain, or like Lambo, all of the top tier Zergs, they call it the Loco maneuver, even though I don't really... I think it was Dimaga that first did that in a game. I think I copied it from Dimaga, and then anyways. Apparently I'm getting all the credits. Cool to see it being used though, we don't really see it all too often. The main reason why we don't really see it all too often is because usually there's Archons underneath. So if there's Archons underneath the Tempest and the carriers and stuff, the Archons will just absolutely tear apart the Corruptors. So usually you can't pull it off. But if there's no splash damage underneath, it can actually work out quite well. Prince doing the Protoss thing that I'm not the biggest fan of, man. So he just lost a big chunk of his army, and then he's like, great, let me warp in a gajillion Stalkers. And he's apparently not done yet, adding on even more. It can work, don't get me wrong. It's just that I've seen it go backwards as well. Very, very, very often. Yeah, it can backfire. It can backfire for sure. Oh, Mizraeli's right over here. That's 2 Void Rays going down for free. Stalkers, though. Okay, just making a beeline straight towards the natural. So the idea usually, right, with these sort of transitions is that you can warp in so many units so quickly. Even though Zerg usually has the more mobile army, Protoss now suddenly takes that crown. Prince taking the crown. I don't know. There's a pun there somewhere. Yeah, look at this. He's just wandering straight into the main base, the natural, just killing all of the different tech structures, and going after the spires here is very nice. Stalker's now even taking out the base in the top left-hand corner, and sure, you can fungal it if you want to. Oh, nice burrow right there on the ground. But the Brute Lords are so slow, right? So Brute Lords can... Like, if you have like 24 Brute Lords, they can kill infinite amounts of Stalkers. You can't really get underneath that amount of Brutes. It's just that the Stalkers are significantly quicker than the Brute Lords. So they can just go, you know, for like a... What do we call it? A run-by? I guess it would still be a run-by right here. Even though they're Stalkers. They can run. Not as fast as Zerglings maybe, but they can run. So now all of a sudden, okay. Prince, I think you need to go back to Skytles. I think what he's doing right now makes a lot of sense, yeah. A couple of Ultras here in the mix as well. He's just picking off the tech structures. You know what? I was a little hesitant. I thought that this was going to be his main move. But now he's going back to... So that was like a very expensive transition, though. He warped in like, what? 30 Stalkers? Anyways. Apparently it was meant to take out some of those structures of the Zerg player and take out some of the bases. So now the natural, as well as the main base, are essentially dead. Ultralisks, once again, showing off here. Why they are the worst unit for the Zerg. They're so bad! Stop being bad, dude! Anyways, that's a maxed out Ultralisk, man. Okay, well, it could have +3 melee, but... Anyways, in the meantime. Even though Protoss is dealing a lot of damage there to the infrastructure of the Zerg, Zerg has also taken care... Yeah, it's taken care of a couple of the bases in the top left-hand corner. 7 carriers on the production tab. And Prince right now, taking the base in the bottom right. I kind of like it. ByuL thinking about taking this expo, apparently. Okay. Okay. Stalkers here on the right side of the map finish off another base. And now all of a sudden, right, if we look around the Zerg, sure, there's some of it left over, but ByuL, man, ByuL is so patient. Like, I would feel the desperation need right now, or the desperate need to try and go for either the base in the top left, or, you know, try and go and win right now, because there's really no way you're gonna win by sitting back, right? Is there? For what it's worth, Prince did spend the majority of his bank. He's once again maxed out now. ByuL is sitting at 140 supply. I guess he wants... Like, he's got money. I guess he wants to make a spire. Yeah, he's going for the lair right now. Pretty sure the only reason why we see no movement here from the Zerg, or like no macro, no spending here, is because of the fact that he wants to make a new spire, and it takes a long time to get that out because he needs the lair once again. He needed a spotting pool, a lair, and then eventually a spire. That takes a long while. Fungal growth over here, though. Once again, Microbial Shroud dealing a lot of damage. Good splits here by Prince, negating any potential here for splash damage, or at least preventing a lot of it. Storms are going down, while there's still some good fungal growths as well. Very patient play here as well with the Corruptors, keeping them back as long as possible until most of the Interceptor ships now have been killed by the Queens and the Spore Crawlers. My god, this is actually such a good fight for ByuL! That was 140 supply Zerg versus 200 supply Protoss. Oh my god, he just actually won that battle. I thought for a second he was making a major error with the Corruptors there when they were sticking around in the back. Yeah, this is why Spore Crawlers, man, are so strong. Static defense in StarCraft 2 is insanely good in general. I've often wondered recently whether or not we should just be nerfing Spore Crawlers, bunkers, photon cannons, shield batteries. Like, if we should just nerf all of it, because the only reason there why Zerg stayed alive for that long is because of the Infestors as well as the Spore Crawlers. I mean, honestly, Microbial Shroud MVP. So sick. Yeah, so there's the Spire coming up. Infestation Pit also. Alright. I can't believe that ByuL did not panic and spent his 5,000 or so resources during that battle. I'm pretty sure he just wants to make Corruptors. Otherwise, he would have spent it sooner. ByuL is a very patient player, though. ByuL is a little bit older, right? He did his service. He's like, he's probably like 29, maybe 30 years old. Maybe he's the sage of StarCraft. I don't know. I mean, I say that. I'm 29 myself, and I have the patience of a kitten. I'm not really a patient StarCraft player at all. Anyways, I'm more patient now than I was 10 years ago, for what it's worth, but... Here we go. Another wave of Protoss units moving forward. ByuL is just about to finish his Spire, by the way. Does he have Larva? He's got Larva over here. Yeah, he does have Larva from his main base, his natural third. I think he needs to spend the Larva, though. Alright, well, actually... Yeah, he's now got 13 Corruptors coming up. And then also 6 Infestors from leftover Larva at the third base. Zerglings dealing damage in the bottom right-hand corner. These are powerful Zerglings. They don't mess around. There's 13 Corruptors just about to pop. This is a weird situation as well for Prince to be in right now, because he probably assumes that he's had the significant upper hand for a long time just because of the amount of Zerg units that he's seen, right? Like, he's been winning these battles, or he's been losing the battles, I guess, but, like, he's seen the amount of reinforcements here from the Zerg, so he probably doesn't expect 20 more of those Zerg units to join the battlefield here very soon. Where's the rest of those Corruptors? Did they already die? Oh, I guess they may have already... No, there's more of them. Okay. They may have already died. In the meantime, though, 34 probes have gone down. Okay, Queens moving forward. There's a lot of Void Rays still up in the air, though. Good parasitic... Or, sorry, good fungal growth right there. We once again see those Infestors keeping the Queens alive with the Microbial Shrouds. This is more Microbial Shroud usage that I've seen ever. If this is a ByuL victory, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Look at this. Prince, 79 supply? No money. Prince is broke. Oh my... Wait. These last 5 minutes have been crazy. I could have sworn we had a maxed out Protoss player versus 140 supply Zerg. Protoss player with like 3 mining bases and a bank. And Zerg with 1... Like, he just lost the Spire, by the way. That's the worst position of Spire. Oh my... Really? Protoss still has more bases, though. But I guess most of them have run out of minerals by now. Okay. Taking care of some of that Zerg economy. I can't believe he didn't even try to take the base at the top left. So careful, though, Prince. There's, you gotta be so careful here because there's so many Infestors. I think neural parasites and fungal growths can actually... Like, there's enough Infestors here to neuro everything. I think you need to get out of there, bro. I don't think you can actually stick around here for this long. Oh my god, the Queens are joining in the fray right now as well with the Spore Crawlers once again. He wants to try and kill the lair, and I guess he's gonna be able to get it? Is there enough money in the bank right now for Prince to actually... Or, sorry, for ByuL to remake a base? There's not. He's got 272 minerals. Barely not enough. Recall there on some of the Void Rays. Yeah, Prince is going a little bit too YOLO. The Zerglings in the bottom right, by the way, has killed 2 bases. Well, I guess soon to be 2 bases. But the problem is, ByuL has lost every single one of his hatcheries, and now he's revealed. So, hold up. Okay, this game has just gone crazy. I feel bad for the people that actually stopped watching this video like 10 minutes ago because they're like, okay, I've seen this. ByuL has no... Like, he's got no way of making a new hatchery. He still has about a dozen drones. But for the first time in a very long time, the guy actually has a huge army compared to his opponent. I think this is the moment where I remind you all that the win condition of StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. There's a lot of structures out there. But as long as the Void Rays are not able to get on top of the Brute Lords, the Brutes can kill everything here eventually. Protoss doesn't really have any mining other than whatever's going on over here. So sure, he's got more infrastructure than his opponent, but eventually it will all die. That means that these Void Rays are the last units that Prince can really play with. Corruptors here are waiting already. Most of these Voids are also very low in hit points. Oh my god, is this a ByuL victory? This might be the most patient Zerg play that I've seen. This is more patient than a Serral or a Dark. Obviously, the same can be said, though, here for our Protoss. Protoss right now, yeah, he has full vision of the last of the Zerg structures. The problem is that these guys also count. He's got vision here of a lot of these Zerg units. Oh my god, he's bringing the uprooted spore crawlers with the queens. That is so dirty. Oh my god, no way. I don't see how this army from Prince is gonna be able to take on any of this. There's really no way that ByuL is gonna lose those spore crawlers. What in the world? I could have sworn like we had like 5 base Zerg against like 8 base Protoss. Look at this. This is a complete 180 of what we normally see. Prince's strategy here was to try and just throw more units at the problem. And while it seemed to work there initially, some of those battles were just too bad. He's lost way more here than the Zerg player has. He like went a little bit too aggressively rather, on top of all of those spore crawlers. And Microbial Shroud kept those spores alive for such a long time. Oh my god. Keep in mind there's as well enough minerals here as well for Zerg to like put down a Vespian Geyser if he really wants to. So ByuL has taken care of all of the structures here of the Zerg other than the spore crawlers. Oh my god. This is still like, he just needs to, well, it's 8 spores. 8 spores is a lot.
Base is under attack.
Protoss, by the way, still has 400 minerals in the bank. He can try and retake this expo, for example, if he really wants to. There's still some Zerglings available, however, and the Zerglings don't mess around. There is vision here as well. Oh my god, assimilation successful. Oh my god, neural parasites! The Void Rays kill each other! Oh, dude. Okay, I maybe got a little bit too excited about this whole thing. But the amount of times that I've seen Protoss just attack move with the carriers and the Void Rays and then storm everything down and then just bulldoze everything that the Zerg player has. I mean, that's happened so many times that this is something I don't see very often. Great play by ByuL. Very well done.